Hey guys, subscribe for daily content. And if you're shopping for gear, make sure you check out the description for the newest items at some of the very best online retailers. There's also links for some of the items that I personally recommend. Thanks! What's going on YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I've got another interesting knife review / knife overview to share with you guys. This is the CIVIVI Stylum, which is a front flipper and also a double detent slip joint, so it has no lock. I will be linking this knife right down below so you guys can check it out if you'd like. It is a budget knife, not a horrible price on it. We'll talk all about that. Thank you so much to CIVIVI for sending this in. I appreciate that. And thanks so much to my generous patrons who are supporting me right now. There's a link for Patreon right down below. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. Let's go ahead and get a measurement of the Stylum. Overall length coming in at 6.75 inches. Overall blade length coming in just shy of 3 inches. I think that's pretty definitive, so if you live in an area with a 3-inch blade lot, rejoice. Cutting edge coming in at about a little more than 2.5 inches. Let's go ahead and do some size comparisons up against the Ontario Rat Model 1 and the Ontario Rat Model 2. Closer in size to the Rat 2. Very close in overall cutting edge, but the Rat 2 is definitely still a bulkier knife. How about up against the Spyderco PM2? I really should have these deployed so I can just set them down. And the Spyderco Para 3, closer in size to the Para 3 and identical in cutting edge to the Para 3, but still a smaller knife overall. And last but not least, the Benchmade Griptilian, or in this case, the Ritter Hogue, and the Benchmade Bug Out. Definitely smaller than both of these knives. Let's go ahead and do carry profile. So, Stylum thickness up against the Para 3. It's pretty close in thickness. That's kind of surprising, but it is. This way, though, very slender. Up against the PM2 and Para 3, nowhere near length, height. No, nowhere near it. It's much smaller. Let's go ahead and measure blade stock thickness so I don't forget. I'm going to guess this is, I don't know, 110,000, something like that. Okay, roughly 115 thousandths. Materials, we are looking at micarta, we're looking at steel liners, and we're looking at, can we see this right here? 10CR 15 CO MOV, that's VG10. Pretty much interchangeable with VG10. And you know what? That's okay, considering this is a $60 knife. Okay, not a big deal at all. I don't think that VG10 belongs on knives that cost around 100 or more. James Brandt, excuse me, it's a weird cough. But yeah, at 60 bucks, I don't have a problem with VG10. Let's see here. Next thing we need to do is hardware check. Go ahead and flip this over, get out my tools. As per usual, my tools are very inexpensive and very recommendable. You can find them right down in the part of my description that says my tools. T8, and then we have some, the scale screws are going to be T6, and then we have, this screw is most likely holding on to that pocket clip right there. And, you know, I don't think you can switch that pocket clip to the other side. I was thinking, you know, maybe they'd... Wait a minute. Can you really not switch this clip over to this side? No, you can't. There's no space for it. You can't flip the backspacer over either. Am I missing something here? Why would they not allow you to flip the pocket clip over to the other side? This is a completely ambidextrous knife otherwise. Is that really the case? This entire time before, I mean, I've been messing around with this knife. This entire time, I just assumed that there was another slot on this side so that you could set the pocket clip over here. Look at this carefully. Okay, well, unless I'm stupid, which is very well maybe the case because I do make mistakes, it doesn't look like there's a way to flip that clip over to this side. That doesn't make any sense to me. There's no deployment method for this knife other than the front flipper, which is symmetrical, meaning you should be able to, can I do this left-handed? Yeah. You should be able to do it the same no matter which hand you use. So that pocket clip should be mountable on both sides. You know, okay, we're going to move on. If I miss something, let me know. But, and if you're watching, look down in the comments section for clarification, but it doesn't look like that to me. Anyways, let's weigh it. I'm going to guess this thing weighs about 2.5 ounces. Weight on this guy. Yeah, 2.43 ounces, good ratios, right? It's also under 3 ounces, so I'm not going to notice much of a difference. Anything under 3 ounces is ultra lightweight to me. So there you go. It should be pretty easy to carry. In fact, if you want to carry this in athletic shorts, knock yourself out. I don't think it's really that big of a deal as long as you're wearing pants. So this is another CIVIVI knife that is very... We'll talk about that. It's very knife. Like, look up, Google the word knife, and that's what this looks like, right? It looks like a steak knife or, you know, just generic knife, right? Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing because these types of lines work. There's a forward choil on this guy, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me because I think the bracing point, especially like the jimping up here, suggests that you can bear down on it, but that's also a good way to break the detent up here. So really the only safe spot is back here. I mean, the jimping, well, this part of the jimping is for the front. I have no idea why they extended the jimping out to this point. That's not, don't brace up here because that will break the detent. That does not make any sense to me. Back here, you truly can get a full 4-finger grip on this guy if you're going to be power cutting with this thing, which I don't think you did. Most of the cuts you're going to be doing are probably, you're going to be holding it like this and just using it to open boxes and packages and things like that, right? But ergonomically, it's pretty good. You can feel that clip a little bit because CIVIVI insists on these really high gooseneck pocket clips. I do appreciate that it's short. I just don't want this end of it to be so prominent out here. It can be less goosenecky, right? Micarta looks good, and it's shadow boxed by the liners. And, you know, the stylum, right? Yeah, it looks stylish. It looks simple. It's not, you know, demanding that people pay attention to it. If you like to carry knives that are smaller and more compact and less attention grabbing, that aren't super duper crazy flashy, right? This is definitely, you know, a more minimalist look, and I think CIVIVI obviously does that really, really well. But, you know, it's got some fun factor just for you, all right? It's got the front flipper, and the double detent thing can be fun if you can get it nailed down. And I kind of have. Let me tell you though, if you're somebody that builds up a lot of kinetic energy in your front flip, and then you go to front flip it, kind of the same way that it bounced out of the bottom there like this, that can also happen at the top, and it's not doing that now. But if you rewind the review, you'll see when I actually did accidentally get it to bounce back out there. I'm trying to get it to do that. Now I'm not going to be able to prove it. What can happen is that it can actually bounce back out at the top. Now I'm like forgetting how to front flip a knife. Oh, I don't know. I guess I'm not going to be able to prove it. But what can happen is that the knife can bounce back out of its secondary detent at the top and not deploy exactly right. It's also possible that this knife, sometimes I miss it completely. It's also possible that this knife is breaking in a little bit, and maybe it's getting easier for the detent ball to fall into that hole. So there we go. It has actually bounced back out. It only took me, people are like, okay, that's not really saying much, dude. It took you 50 tries to get it to do that. It is kind of annoying though, and it makes me wonder why they insisted on doing a double detent front flipper. I think it probably would have made more sense if we had a secondary, even if they were teeny tiny, a secondary means of deployment on this guy. Maybe like a nick or something in here, right? A fuller or something where we can just grab it. And you can just grab the blade and do that, or maybe a thumb stud or something that allows you to wheel it out a little more naturally than, you see, if I don't want to do the full front flip thing, the tactical front flip, the way that you have to deploy it, if you want to use one hand, is like that, right? Otherwise, you use two hands. So you're going to risk dropping it with any front flipper, right? Even if you're adapted to them, as many front flippers as I handle, you can see that I still, you know, after a while kind of struggle with it, or it's not even after a while. it takes a little bit more mental and physical effort and dexterity to be able to deploy that conveniently versus something that's just got a thumb stud or something that's got like an opening hole. I mean, this is as easy as it gets, right? So this is about as complicated as it gets, and yeah, you can adapt to it. It's just that every time you want to open it with one hand, you're going to be dealing with that. And because it does not lock, it might bounce back out, which isn't it's far from my favorite thing in the entire world. So that's kind of weird. Moving on to some positive things, we have, as per usual, a blade that's done ridiculously well. This looks nice. I like how this looks. And we have a nearly fully flat grind. You have a little tiny flat that carries out like 40% the length of the blade, right? And it comes down to a pretty darn thin cutting edge. I'm going to use a little piece of card there. Yeah, I mean, it's plenty slicey, even considering the blade isn't super tall, which is something that CIVIVI does really well. It's pretty rare that CIVIVI does a thick grind. Plenty capable puncture tip, right? Not a lot of material down here, so don't go jamming this into things and prying around and expecting it to be super durable, because it isn't. I don't even know who I'm talking to right there, because no one would, I couldn't imagine that anyone would actually think that. But yeah, the edge is done well. It looks nice. And take a look at that. Can we see it? Yeah. That's Ferrum Forge, the shield there. So that's pretty cool. And I don't know, when I saw that, I was kind of like, okay. It didn't scream that designer. But okay, there it is. That's cool. We've seen them collaborate in the past. What is it? The Odium, and they've collaborated with same company, the Malice. I'm sure there's plenty of others. I'm just not I know there's more. I'm just forgetting them. Like I said, the pocket clip is okay. It's plenty short. I like that. I like that, let me say this. I like that CIVIVI will sometimes go out of their way to do a special pocket clip for certain knives, right? Generally what we see with really inexpensive knives is we see the same clip that's used on a lot of stuff in their line, and they just slap it on there and they're like, whatever, it's gotta work, CIVIVI has a pocket clip that they use over and over and over and over again, but every now and then I see a special clip that's designed just for that knife, or maybe it's just for a few knives, and I kind of like that. But again, why would we not be able to mount this on both sides? That's so weird. I don't understand. Anyways, let's move on here. The adjustment side for the pivot is on this side. The detents are plenty. I mean, there's no movement other than like, here it's going to move, but left and right, nothing. Down here, nothing. No detent lash, right? It's running on bearings, by the way. Plenty smooth. It's not going to be like fall shut because of how the knife operates, right? But yeah, it's all right. So what's the price of this knife? I think I mentioned it before, 60 bucks. My biggest gripes here are the detent at the top does not allow it to always lock out perfectly. Sometimes it's going to, go back. It's going to bounce back, right? The pocket clip really should be, it should be a fully ambidextrous clip. I have no idea why there's a forward. Honestly, they should have just let all of this be blade, because I'm not going to choke up on this. It's not a safe knife to choke up on. There really should be another means of deployment, so that if you don't want to front flip it and accidentally throw it across the room or risk having the blade bounce back out. I'm still not, it's like proving myself wrong. Yeah, I guess it's not as likely as I was, saying, but it does happen. I would like just it would be nice to just have like something that I could use to wheel this out, or I think probably just a nick right here so that I can open it with, it's not that it's difficult. I'm like, oh, without a nick, I can't, no, you can do it, right? So I'm just being a nitpicky reviewer. There we go. That was a bad one there. So yeah, Now, I am forcing a lot of this stuff, right? It's obviously not a current, like, none of this is going to be like, oh no, I can't carry this knife because it's too dangerous and too complicated for my feeble mind. No, but I am going to point it out because this is a heavy competition zone and there are lots of things in this territory, stuff that CIVIVI makes, that kind of make this not a great choice, right? It's good enough. I mean, like, this is like a lot of knives that I've been looking at here lately. And I don't know if you guys have noticed, I'm getting a little bit more picky because I keep looking at a lot of the same stuff. A lot of the stuff that was perfectly acceptable to me 2 or 3 years ago is just not acceptable anymore because we have too many great examples of designs. So, if you're just looking for a simple, cheap knife, you like the idea of something that doesn't lock just for whatever reason, and you know, that's going to make this legal in a lot of other places. Like if you live in an area where you have, I mean, as long as it falls within the parameters of a legal blade length, you live in an area that doesn't allow you to carry a locking blade, this is going to work for you. I should have said that earlier on in the review. It doesn't lock. It makes it, you know, especially like people who don't live in the United States, you might be able to carry this. You still have to check your local laws. You can't just be like, I watched this guy Metal Complex and he said I could carry it. No, you still have to check your local laws, but that might make it legal for you. So I can understand why knives like this are made, but yeah, I still think that there's better, right? Like the UKPK from Spyderco, I think makes a lot more sense, right? It's just, it's easier to open and trust on the opening and the deployment, and the design makes a little more sense, right? I'm assuming that has an ambidextrous clip, right? But I mean, if we're making a knife that's supposed to be, you know, a knife that a lot more people can carry, why? I feel like I'm missing something. You can't flip the backspacer over, and there's only one slot. Okay. I just know I'm going to release this review and someone's going to be like, you idiot. This is how you do it. But yeah, it doesn't look like there's a way to flip that over. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, like I'll put this in cheap knives I like because again, it's only a $60 knife and it's good enough, but it's not something that's going to go in my like most recommended playlist because there's heavy competition. At $60, there's heavy competition knives that I think are all the way around a lot more recommendable. If you need a knife that doesn't lock and you love front flippers and you love simplistic aesthetics, then you might really like this. And truthfully, fit and finish all the way around is, as per usual with CIVIVI, very good, right? So you can ignore the other stuff in this review if it doesn't pertain to you. For everybody else, I would look elsewhere. Honestly, I would just look right in CIVIVI's line. CIVIVI makes, I don't know, 50 other knives, I think, that are fantastic choices. So yeah, just take a look there. Start right there. That's pretty much all I have to say. I don't think there's any reason to keep going here. Please make sure to follow me on Instagram at metal_complex. I did link this down below, by the way, so if you want to check it out, it's down there. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex. They'll go right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.